Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This is Sucheta Dalal. This time we're going to revisit something that I've been talking about since September. It is with a new dimension to it, of course, which is unclaimed money. Money that we expect to inherit from deceased people who may be our loved ones, parents. One expects that when you are a nominee or there's legal will, the process is smooth, but I've been talking repeatedly on this video blog about the kind of horrors that people face in order to claim what is rightfully theirs. And sometimes it's not even money that comes from a deceased person, it is your own money. You've been leaving shares lying in physical format and forgotten about it. It's a horror story to claim your own funds. Now, I've been pointing out, those of you who watch this regularly would have known, that developed nations of the world have special laws for this. They work diligently to do what they call reuniting unclaimed financial assets with their rightful owners. These nations see it as their duty to do that. I've written articles about it in September. You can read them if you want. In contrast, in India, rightful owners and their legal heirs, despite of legal will most of the time, go through a long and tortuous process to get what is legitimately theirs, even after unclaimed financial assets have been appropriated and pooled by various financial regulators. Now, what does this mean? That if you have not claimed dividends, interest, or your own shares which have been redeemed, bank deposits which have matured, if you haven't claimed it for, say, 7 years and 10 years in case of bank deposits, all these get pooled. So, bank deposits will go under RBI, the insurance schemes, you haven't made a claim, it goes to IRDAI, mutual funds and others are with SEBI, and unclaimed dividends with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, without including Provident Fund and Employee Provident Fund. This amounts to a humongous 82,000 crore. This is money belonging to savers. Maybe not you and me, it's not our money, but it belongs to people like us who have paid taxes, who have saved this diligently, and it's lying there. Parts of the interest are being used for all kinds of financial literacy initiatives. Process of claiming it is excruciating. Now, what is new this time? The new angle is corruption. So, a survey by localcircles.com, this is a platform that highlights key governance issues faced by people to the government. They do surveys, online surveys regularly with registered users. At this time, they did a survey on unclaimed assets. I call it unclaimed assets, they don't. They find that the survey showed 52% of Indian families who, after the death of a loved one, were trying to get assets transferred to themselves, legitimate heirs, mind you, or successors, had to pay bribes, sometimes in several places. All this is over the last decade. What is worse is that the transfer is fraught with such massive friction and corruption. Now, I'm going to keep repeating this issue. You know that I've taken it up as a campaign. Again, if you're a regular reader, you would know that I've taken this to the Supreme Court. So the need to highlight different dimensions of it is important because it's going to affect us. If you are saving money for your children, remember it's going to affect them. If you are expecting to inherit from someone, you're going to go through this someday or the other. So this is not an issue. You may not have faced it today, but it's not a third person's issue. It is something that each one of us is going to face. So let's start with the survey findings, which showed that just 23%, which is less than a quarter of legal heirs, said they were able to get the transfers done easily. Now, the survey doesn't go into granular details, so we don't know, but most of these may have had a registered will. On the other hand, 19% reported that they faced hardship despite having a registered will. Now, a significant number to my mind is that 27% of the respondents said that in the absence of a registered will, they have still not been able to complete the process. Again, this survey doesn't go into details about how long are they struggling, how much have they tried, and where exactly did they face a problem. For instance, was it better with mutual funds and insurance? Because insurance, I'm told, is not too bad. Was it bad with a Provident Fund, or was it property? Because property is a red flag area, and I'm going to come to that soon. Let's first talk about the registered will. First of all, a will does not have to be registered. It can be holographic, it can be handwritten, But these are new things. In the absence of the government having a clear policy, everyone makes up their own rules. There are no standard operating procedures. So registrars and transfer agents says, oh, we will give more value to a registered will. Why? Nobody knows. It is not a requirement, right? Even then, people go and register it. There are innumerable problems with that. Again, if you're interested, go to Moneylife Foundation and look up our seminars on wills. This is not the video where I'm going to get into details. Now, look at this chart of local circles. It's giving you a breakup. Even as I'm talking, it's going to show you what kind of issues people faced. And you will see 23% only were able to do things easily. Others faced, mind you, corruption. Now, this is an important issue. Property registration and land transfers, as we know, are a bad area. They've turned out to be the most corrupt. So those who paid bribes, remember 52%, of these 86% indicated that they had to pay bribes for property registration and land transfer. In fact, they also said that the registration process, they were told actually that the registration process would be faster and no queries. So if you don't pay innumerable queries, unnecessary ones, if you pay a bribe, even legitimate queries are probably ignored. And this is what is worrying. If you grease the process with a bribe, it's possible to get your property transferred without even having proper documents like revenue records. They don't tally. There are issues with stamp duty. There have been amendments. Maybe the date on record is different from what is there in your papers. But all this is just ignored because you have paid that money. So the conclusion is that bribe takers do not ask questions. Is this happening even when they legitimately should have been asking questions? Yes, it is. I mean, you look at this. There are those of you who work like us with people would know any number of people, especially poor people who own lands, discover to their horror that their land has been transferred out. Now, if you can get things done, corruption remains as high. You can imagine what kind of a scary story this is there. It is usually the poor that are due. Now, the governments at each state, this is a state subject, have ostensibly been working at digitizing land records. Even Maharashtra has made a lot of progress. So has Rajasthan. There is an attempt to put it in the public domain. In Maharashtra, you can get details of ownership. We again have a whole seminar on this, which is up on Moneylife Foundation. But corruption remaining rampant, people are still going to be fooled and are being fooled. And this has come out inadvertently in this local circle survey when they ask them how easy or difficult it is to get transfer, which is legitimate, to legal owners. So the survey also said as many as 25% of the respondents not only paid bribes in these two places, but they had to pay bribes repeatedly in lots of places. 24% of course said they did not have to pay any bribes, but we don't know, again without granular details, whether they had only shares, bank deposits, some of the things which are cleaner to transfer, or maybe a flat in a registered cooperative housing society. Then things are simpler. So we don't know what comprises this 24%. Another 27% had to pay in one or two places. In fact, as many as 65% of bribe givers admitted to bribing local and state government officials, and 26% even paid bribes at the magistrate's office and courts. Now, if every single cog in the system is amenable to taking bribes, and we are a corrupt country, you can imagine, as one can say, that this smoothens the process of getting things done where it would be stuck for years. But look at the flip side. So many things can go wrong as well. I mean, look at the next chart about how people have had to pay bribes, and 52% had to pay, more than half. What a shocking number this is. It is likely that people are able to transfer assets, like I said, housing societies rather smoothly. Nominations have made a big difference. So if you have proper nominations, a legitimate will, of course things will be smooth. But most of us have a property, we have an asset. And if we stay in these three presidency cities, which is Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata, then you need a probate. So your will has to be probated. What is a probate? It's essentially the confirmation of a will by a court of law. Court stamps on it. It's an expensive process, takes years. So people actually jump through hoops in order to avoid probates. The way to avoid probates, of course, is nominations everywhere, and people are doing it. That's why some of the process is smooth. But if you have to get a probate, and lawyers will tell you it's a good thing to do because it's legally required, the horrors are of a different level, especially if you have a lot of money. So a lawyer who handles a lot of wills and inheritance cases for wealthy clients tells me that apart from the time and the legal challenges and the cost, he says there are fraudsters who watch out for probate notices. So every will, the probate notice is put up to see if there are any other claimants who come before the court gives its stamp to a will, right? So the minute a notice is put up, there are fraudsters who have made a career out of looking for them. And if they see that this is like what Lalu Prasad Yadav would have called a Malaidar party, they make a patently fake claim saying that I also have to inherit. They may call themselves a family member. They could be from any part of India, but what's to stop anyone making a claim? So this story is something I heard over a decade ago. And you know what this lawyer told me? He said that these blackmailers used to extract 10 to 15,000 rupees just to withdraw this false claim. And when I said, why do you pay? They said, it is much easier to just pay them off because we're talking about property that goes into tens of crores, sometimes hundreds of crores. They said the time to file a police complaint and follow it up or to go to court would be much more expensive, take longer, and you may have to pay bribes even then. So just easier to pay off a blackmailer. This is the corrupt and dubious system that we are dealing with. Even local circles with this superficial survey, I would say, says the need of the hour is for serious reforms in inheritance processing with appropriate policies and a single window for processing it. Like I said, it's limited, yet this is what they come out. Doesn't capture really what happens when it comes to claiming financial assets. They haven't even gone into details of deposits, what people face with the Investor Education Protection Fund or Provident Fund or Post Office. The fact that bankers can ask you any conditions at all to transfer things even when there is a nomination because there are no standard operating procedures and everyone wants to be careful. So nomination helps. It allows things to come to you, but the entire process of inheritance, succession is a lot more than just a nominee getting charge of the assets. So, like I said, post-COVID, even that 82,000 crore number of unclaimed assets would have gone well past 1 lakh crore. It's lying with various regulators and government agencies, and it has to come back to legal heirs. More than that, there has to be a streamlined process. So, on 12th August, those of you who read me regularly would remember that I had filed a public interest litigation thanks to the help of Senior Counsel Prashant Bhushan, who did it pro bono as a public cause, and the Supreme Court was kind enough to issue notices to all the regulators and the Finance Ministry saying that this matter is of importance. They were supposed to have filed it in 8 weeks. We will know shortly what their reaction is. But what I've done in the meanwhile is that I worked on this, looked at what happens internationally. I discovered that most of them have a central authority, a central database. They have various ways, sometimes it's a public-private partnership, to work diligently to find a way for people to come and file and without harassment get their money. Yes, there will be fraud. Yes, there will be people trying to make false claims. The world has found a way around it. If there is a little bit of fraud, it can always be covered by some kind of insurance. It can be investigated post facto, but it works. If it works in other countries, it can work here. I have written about this as well. If you're interested, you can look up the article in Moneylife. They include every kind of claim. Some countries even include copyright and royalties and other stuff. Even money that you're owed by a former employer, if it's due to you, it doesn't go away. You can make a claim. And we need to emulate that. We need to have legislative changes to remove friction and corruption. But why will it happen? Because we as individuals are so disaggregated, we don't get together. That is why we need either a court order, which is why I've gone to the Supreme Court and I hope that works, or we need the government to understand this is an important issue. But we, the middle class, are the ones who are affected and we don't vote, so they don't really care. unless all of us push. So I've worked on a detailed note with the help of iSpirit Foundation on the feasibility of an online system. I've also concluded that there has to be a central authority to do this whole process, maybe a death registry. If you agree that this is required, please read this note. It is put up on Moneylife Foundation. Show you a link and share this video so that we can build pressure to finally move this mountain and make it work for us. If you like what I said, please do share. This is about all of us, and do subscribe to Moneylife. Thank you so much.